If you are an African, listen to this. We need to talk about this topic because as a collective, that is how we grow. We can't grow individually. We need to put an end to this perpetual poverty in Africa. The problem with Africans is they don't know where their problem stems from. They don't know what is the cause of their problem. To find solutions to your problem, you have to first know the underlying cause of that problem. Rich Africa, poor people. Rich Africa, poor people. Extremely poor people. If you check the poverty index of the world today, you see that majority of the countries on there are African countries. A continent that is blessed with unimaginable resources, especially right now in the 21st century, where the whole world depends on those resources. They depend on our lithium to create batteries. A lot of resources are coming from Africa, but Africa is not benefiting from those resources. And what is the problem? Who is to be blamed? The problem in Africa is so complex that if you look deep, it's simple at the same time. So I have highlighted some points which we are going to talk about today. You want to listen through this video. Some reasons you might agree with me and some you might not. So let me know in the comment section below which of these following points is the main cause of the problem we have in Africa today. The first one is colonization. Colonization of Africa. We all know how Africa was colonized. If you've been following my content for some time now, I've explained it intensively on this channel. In the medieval times, Africa was a continent that is known for, creations, human invention. The ancient Egyptians are a proof to that. The ancient Ashantis are a proof to that. The ancient Edo, the ancient Benin Kingdom is a proof to that. We all had different civilizations in Africa before the Caucasians ever left the Caucasus Mountain in the Eurasia region. We had mathematics, we had physics, we had science, we had medicine. We could treat ourselves. We were strong, we were resilient, we were rich at the same time. We had gold. Our ancient kings, they traded with gold and, rare earth metals. That is why if you go through history, you will see that the richest man on planet Earth was an African. If you go through history, his name was Mansa Musa. That man single-handedly caused an inflation in gold because he went on a pilgrimage to Mecca. On his way to Mecca, he was dashing out gold like it was nothing. And that caused the price of gold to crash, to collapse. We've had great men, great kings, great kingdoms in Africa. But it's laughable comparing that to what Africa is today. And that is where my point comes, colonization. Africa was colonized. Our people were taken from the land, shipped abroad into slavery. Our resources were stolen. Our artifacts were looted. They destroyed our ancient structures, destroyed our history, to the point that an average African don't even know where they come from. They don't know their histories because it was destroyed. Africa was the arrow word. I don't want to use it now. Arrowed to what it is today. What happened was in 1885, I think, 1885, let me Google that, the Berlin Conference. From 1884 till 1885, the Europeans held a conference in Berlin, the Berlin Conference, the famous Berlin Conference, as we know it today, where Otto von Bismarck, the Chancellor of Germany, divided Africa like a piece of cake among the Europeans. And each European nation claimed their territory, claimed a piece of that cake. And we saw what happened later. Africa was divided into Francophone, Anglophone, Germanphone, telephone, all the phones. They divided us into phones. What was the agenda? They wanted us to lose our indigenous languages, our ethnicity, our nature as Africans. That was the agenda. Now you have to learn their language to adapt. You have to learn their language to function in your own land. That was where the problem started from. We had to learn a foreign language. We had to believe in a foreign God before we can survive in our land. It's not complicated. That is how it started. And I kind of figured out that the Europeans, they mirrored the Hellenization of Alexander the Great era. Hellenization, where they were conquering territories, Persia, Egypt, and forcing them to learn the Greek language. Every literature, every books were translated to the Greek language. That's why when you go back, when you trace our step back to ancient past, you see that most books were written in Greek or translated to Greek. Aramaic existed for hundreds of years before the Greek language. That is a colonialist method of dominion. First, they dominate you, they dominate your language, they dominate your belief, and get you to feel inferior because you're trying to catch up. You're trying to learn the colonial master's language, trying to learn the colonial master's culture. Of course, you can't win at that game because their culture is natural to them. That's why I keep saying, no matter how hard you try to learn a language, you can't speak it like the natives. So you are always going to be subservient to the natives. You are always going to be inferior to the natives. That is where our problem started from, colonization. We were colonized mentally, emotionally, physically, or otherwise. And our generation today is the product of those years of programming. Colonization is the biggest reason why Africa is what it is today. Because we didn't get a chance to define our own path. We didn't get a chance to evolve. Our growth was distorted. Now we are all beasts of no nation. We don't know where we come from. Ask the average African in Africa, who created you? He will say, God created me. Then you ask, what God? He will say, Jesus. He will say, Jesus. He will say, what other God do they have? He will say, Allah. He will say, all sort of imported beliefs. He will put that belief forward. Oh, this is my creator. Because you guys are lost. You've lost your purpose. You've lost your essence. You've lost your originality. Your mind has been enslaved. Now I will go to my second point. African leaders. African leaders are one of the most stupid human beings on earth. African leaders are so dumb. They are so foolish. Some people might want to give excuses for African leaders, which I do sometimes, because colonization comes with a lot of programming, comes with a lot of indirect rule. So the colonial masters, they put a puppet in place to fulfill or to service their interest. But African leaders, they do this willingly. They do this consciously because they don't want to be made example of. So the day you are sewn in as a president, you usually get a foreign visit from your former colonial masters to tell you this is the program your predecessors had followed. You should be ready to obey. And when you say no, they send you the jackals. They find a way to get rid of you. So a lot of African leaders, they just budge. They'll say, okay, my life is precious. The life of my family are precious. So instead of me serving the nation I was appointed to service, I'm going to go with the colonial master's interest. So the cycle continues. It's a vicious cycle. But some of those leaders that stood up to say, we don't want to operate in your cycle no more. We want to opt out of the game. We've seen what became of them. The likes of Gaddafi. The people of Libya, they enjoyed free schooling, free housing. When you get married, the government give you money to start up. They give you a house. Petroleum is free or was free in Libya before the West destroyed that establishment. It was free, but they got rid of him. They got rid of Gaddafi. Why? Was he the most horrible person in the world? No. But because he was not dancing to the tune of the Western interest, he had to go. He had to go. We have the likes of Kwame Nkrumah. We have the likes of Sankara. We have the likes of Kenyatta, Mandela, people that stand for the truth in Africa. Strong leaders that would have taken Africa to a different level. They end up dying. So it traces back to colonization. It is also a responsibility for a leader to die for his nation. How dare you become a president when you are not ready to die for your nation? In the olden days, martial arena, the emperor always stays at the front with his chariot. But today, the African leaders, they are behind. They are behind. When you are not ready to die for your country, you have no right becoming a president of that country, because you are going to be nepotic. You are going to think about your personal interest before the nation you are expected to govern. You are going to put your personal interest first. That is why politicians in Nigeria, in Ghana, in all over Africa, majority of them, their kids are not in Africa. They are abroad. They are enjoying all sorts of privileges, but it is only the poor that have nowhere to go. They are expected to suffer in Africa. So I always say this, as an African, the first move you should make is to change your passport, become a dual citizen, so that you can tap into the privilege that your elite are enjoying. When your leaders, when they come to Europe, they take the subway. There are no sirens, not like in Africa. A governor is coming to town. The next thing, President ex-wife is coming to town. The average businessman that just made money is coming to town. But when they come to Europe, they are free. They can just walk in the street of Europe. Nobody cares about them. Because in Europe, they don't worship money. They don't worship money. They've conquered money. But in Africa, money is our God. Money is more valuable than human lives. So I urge you, Africans, that the first thing you should do if you are born as an African is to find a way to get out. Get dual citizenship, then go back to Africa. So you have an escape route. So you go out there, get those forex, bring it back to Africa, and you can accomplish a lot with it. Don't let Africa happen to you, because our leaders have failed us. They've sold their souls to the devil. They put their interest first, the interest of their kids, the interest of their family, the interest of their close relatives. They don't even care about you. Most of our presidents in Africa, they have dual citizenship. They have French citizenship. They have British citizenship. So when shit hit the fan, they will go back to their countries, to their countries. Then the average African will be left to suffer in Africa. That is it with leadership. So you see, leadership is a key factor to why Africa is still poor today. I have more points, but I'm going to end it here. If you want me to continue, please like this video, place a comment below. Let me know if you want me to continue with the list, because I have a whole lot of things written down that I need to touch on. But I don't just want this video to be super long. So share the video, place your comment down below, and see you on the next one.